Hello, here I am. Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, welcome to the Ventura Center for Spiritual Living on this beautiful day. It's great to see all of you here today. Let us breathe in deeply and go into that depth that abides within us. We breathe, we relax, we let go. We allow ourselves to be still and know something greater. And in this place of stillness and greatness, we open our hearts as we hear the words of the sacred reading.
I see no evil, by Ernest Holmes. I see no evil. I behold only the good. I have seen the drunkard lying in the gutter and the saint kneeling in ecstasy before the high altar of his faith, but I have found no difference. I have perceived that each in his own tongue is seeking to express the one life. I will not separate and divide. I cannot condemn nor censure, for I know that there is but one in all. I know that all came from the one, and all will return to the one. I know that all are now in the one, and that each is seeking to express the one. I know and love all, and so it is.
So it is. It's a knowing that we are part of the allness, part of the one. We take this moment in our service to remember that, to shift our focus gently from the world of effects and conditions, and to center in the heart, in the mind and the heart, in truth, in love, in light, and remember who we are. The I am is another word for God, is another word for absolute reality. It is another word for love. So in this singing, we remember our true nature. Not only do we remember it for ourselves, we remember it for all beings everywhere, for the universe and everything in it and beyond it. Let us sing together, I am remembering. I am remembering who I am. The love that we truly are. Let us bring that into our open-eyed state as we breathe in deeply. And then exhale, opening our eyes in love with what is, as it is, and so it is.
Let me just get this up here. Sorry. Also, I just want to mention that I just want you guys to notice that being in this space, I travel around a lot, and hearing this sound and hearing you all sing, it is such a healing balm like no other. You guys are very blessed to be in this space with each other and have your voice going through and teaching those things. Anyway, it's yummy. I'll shut up and sing now. Okay. I am consciously living, consciously loving, consciously choosing me. As I gaze out upon all that life has to offer and where I want to be, in a state of disillusion or a state of pure well-being, knowing attitude and focus paint the picture that I'm seeing. I am stoking the fire, moment molding, watching the thoughts that I am holding, trusting my highest goods unfolding now. I consciously living, consciously loving, consciously choosing light. As I bathe in the breeze off the dreams of my spirit that call me to take flight, knowing I'm creating heaven on earth right here where I stand, and that the universe supports me, if not always how I planned. I am going the way the river's flowing, the winds of grace are always blowing, but I gotta raise my sails, I know that now. Yes, divinity rests here inside, and it's the only guide I want to take me forward on this journey, as I allow spirit to bubble through. It can change my point of view to clearly see the truth that I am now discerning, consciously living, consciously loving, consciously creating every breath I take. I know that goodness is always surrounding me, eager to bless me with every step I make. Consciously creating, I am consciously elating at the power of my choice. I will praise and raise my voice for the consciously creative, blessed now.
That was so kind of Margaret to talk about how we really are this great center of healing energy. It seems to be the way that things are evolving in this center, that the focus is shifting to love. We talked about the vision statement last week, and I'll be speaking more about that later on. And in the spirit of love, I want to just make a quick comment so I can continue with my talk. I didn't mean to imply that Foundations as it was is not relevant. It's really a lovely class, and it's wonderful. I just want to take it a little deeper because I can feel the energy shifting in this center, in this on Sundays, and I want to rise up to match that. So I'm including a lot of the old foundations, but I'm just taking it deeper. Okay, now I can speak. Thank you. All right. So one of my very favorite epic poems is by Ogden Nash. And it goes like this. God, in his wisdom, created the fly, and then forgot to tell us why. The end. Thank you. I worked hard on that. Thanks. The reason that poem came to my mind is that my talk title came to me in a flash of what I thought was wisdom, and love said, let's pretend. And then when it came time to write the dang thing, I was like, what? God in his wisdom gave me that talk title and then forgot to tell me why. I'm like, what is this thing about? What is this talk about? So I meditated on it for a little bit, and then I thought about the Sufis. Love in its wisdom, love said, let's pretend. And the Sufis, the Islamic tradition, in their commentary on the Quran says, I was a hidden treasure that longed to be known. I created the world that I might know myself. And I said, oh, that's it, yes, yes. Many of the perennial traditions say something like that God was this absolute wonderful existence that, as my husband says, one day woke up in the void and decided, I'm going to create a universe, dang it. Right? Doesn't say it quite like that, but it's something like that. So it woke up and it decided to create a universe, and in creating the universe, it projected all of itself into the universe, so spirit became matter, so that matter could become spirit. And sometimes, when spirit is matter, it pretends that it isn't spirit. Love pretends that it isn't love. Love pretends that it is something less than love. I was thinking about examples of spirit becoming matter, and thinking about just a rock. God became the rocks. Love became the rocks. But love or God or what have you, whatever you want to call it, is subject to its own laws. So the rock is subject to the laws of erosion. The rock is subject to the laws of gravity. So if somebody's holding a big rock over my toe and it drops, it's going to fall on my toe and ruin my lovely manicure, pedicure, which is probably not the least of my problems, right? It's subject to its own nature. Same thing, let's say, while God was creating rocks, God created electricity and said, oh, wow, electricity, that is going to be a great thing. I love electricity. But electricity also is subject to its own laws, so much so that we can use electricity to make toast or blow dry our hair or what have you, or we can use it in ways that are harmful. We can electrocute somebody. We can get struck by lightning, God has to be in alignment with its own nature. And then, not in any particular order, God created something called the human being. And just like the rock and electricity and every other created thing, God as human is also subject to the laws of its own nature. And so that means that humans are made in the image and likeness of God, which means that we are creative and that we have free will. But because we have free will, it means that there has to be something to choose from. So we can choose what is right and constructive, or we can choose something that is dark and destructive. And that's when love really gets busy pretending that love isn't love. It's kind of like a reality show for God, Real Housewives of Pacoima, I don't know, wherever. Or maybe, I don't really watch reality shows that I know of, maybe a cooking show occasionally, but think of a movie. Think of a movie that you've seen. One movie that everybody's seen where I'm assuming everybody knows the ending, right? Does everybody know the ending of The Wizard of Oz so I don't give it away, right? Okay, we've all seen it. But, I had to ask that question because when you tell somebody about a movie, they'll say, oh, don't tell me the ending, right? Particularly if there's a big surprise in it, like The Crying Game or... The Sixth Sense. That's the one with Bruce Willis? Oh, that one, yeah. Ooh, I'm not telling you the ending of that. Shawshank Redemption. Not telling you the ending of that either. See? Titanic, yeah. Who knew? Yeah. Who knew how that was going to turn out, Yeah, but I saw on Facebook that the real line was, honey, could you please move over on that raft, at the end. It wasn't said quite that politely, but anyway. But the reason we do that, the reason we don't tell the end of a movie is that God seems to love a process. Let's all dance. Yeah, it's challenging to talk when everybody's like, who is it? So God loves a process. And made in the image and likeness of God, we secretly love a process, even though we don't always act like we love a process, right? Okay, good. Rick agrees. So it must be true. So I'm going to talk about 3 things that are in process that is love pretending not to be love. Love is saying, let's pretend that I'm something less than love. 3 things that I hope will be relevant to you. The first one, and I truly hope this is relevant to you, is reality. The world, the whole thing. It can seem like the world is in a horrible mess. It can seem like things going on in this country are awful. And we call it awful, and we say this is awful. How are things going to turn out? What will become of this? What will become of us? What will become of people? This idea of looking at the world in that way made me think about the eclipse. How many of you participated in the eclipse in some way? Yeah. I went to Costco. I didn't have my glasses. I forgot to prepare for it. I didn't have my glasses, and I didn't want to look at it, so I went to Costco. And by the way, an eclipse, when it comes around again in, how many years? It's a great time to go to Costco because it's empty. They don't have any snacks, though, and we all know that it is a law that when you go to Costco, those snacks have no calories because you're at Costco, right? You can eat anything you want. And, well, not really. I don't want to lie to you in church. Anyway, I was in Costco while the eclipse was happening, but while I was driving over there, I was listening to the radio, and there was a show that was talking about past visions of the eclipse, because I always think about that. Like, what did earlier societies think when all of a sudden the sun went away? Particularly, well, everybody was dependent on the sun, dependent to grow our crops and all of that. And it said that in ancient China, that the ancient Chinese used to shoot cannons and flaming arrows at the eclipse, because they thought that a dragon was eating the sun. And so they wanted to kill the dragon. And when the sun came back out, I'm sure they all went, wow, thank God we averted that crisis, right? Like what I said a couple weeks ago about when your dog barks at the mailman, he gets all excited when the mailman goes away. He's like, thank you, it was nothing. Yeah, so it's the same thing with the eclipse. They shot the arrows at the eclipse, the sun came back out, and they're like, oh, wow, we fixed that, thank you so much. I would say probably a few years later, I didn't catch all of the details of this, but in another culture, in India, this is probably a few years later after many eclipses, and they knew that the sun was eventually going to come out. The rationale that the Indians had for the disappearance of the sun was that there was some disembodied head, kind of like the Wizard of Oz, floating of a god, floating around in the sky, and it got hungry and it would eat the sun. But the sun came out pretty quickly. And you know why? Because the disembodied head didn't digest food like you and me, and it didn't come out that way, did it? No, it just went, he swallowed it, and then boop, it came out. Aren't you glad that doesn't happen in real life, I know I am. So what does this have to do with reality? I always make the connection. It's what I do. I connect weird bits and pieces of information. We're looking at this thousands of years later saying, wow, those people were so primitive, weren't they? They thought, they didn't know science. They didn't know that it was really just the moon covering up the sun. What if 1,000 years from now, the people are looking at our society and they're saying, wow, those people were so primitive. They really didn't know that love was trying to escape and love was trying to be known and all of this drama and trauma that's going on. They didn't know that all they really needed to do was focus on being love, being the presence of love in all things and seeing the world, consciously choosing love, as Margaret said in her song, consciously choosing love, consciously gathering together in spiritual community to raise the vibration of love on the planet. They didn't know that. We know that now. They were so primitive, right? What if we could stop being so perceived as primitive and start recognizing that anything that we see wrong is love in disguise. It is some greater good trying to escape. And sometimes it looks absolutely horrible, and sometimes it's devastating, and sometimes it just makes us want to go under the covers and cry. But we have a choice. We have a choice, and if we can't see the potential gift in it, we can ask, Spirit, love, what is the potential gift in what is happening right now, and what is my part to play in it? I was thinking, as I was meditating on this talk, I was thinking about the Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism. And I'm not an expert in Kabbalah by any stretch of the imagination, but I remember a story. It's that kind of a day, I love it. Days with lots of cell phones are good days. It means, the angels are speaking to us. Anyway, I was rereading this story that was a Kabbalic interpretation that was written by Isaac Luria, written many years ago. I'm not very good with dates, so I can't remember the exact date. But anyway, it was the idea that creation was that there was God, it was light in a vessel, and the vessel shattered and created creation, and holy sparks got hidden in all of the darkness of creation. And the part that's relevant to us is that the job of the humans in creation is to raise holy sparks. And the way that we raise holy sparks is by doing a mitzvah, which they interpreted as a commandment, following one of the commandments. And you know that the 10 Commandments are just a very fancy way of saying, be love one another, work with integrity and love always. Jesus, the master teacher, encapsulated these into 3 commandments. Love yourself, love God, love others. Didn't quite phrase it that way, but it's really 3 commandments. And you know that I always say that those 3 commandments are really 1 commandment, which is love. So we raise holy sparks whenever we respond to something with love. And I think we raise extra holy sparks when we respond to something that seems so incredibly unloving, when we respond to it with love. Love doesn't mean being a doormat. It doesn't mean pretending what is wrong is right, but it means asking the wholeness of spirit, the love that is embedded in everything, the hidden wholeness that is in everything. How can I respond with love? Sometimes it's praying, sometimes it's taking action, sometimes it's sticking up for what is right, sometimes it's stepping back, often it's having a conversation to hear the other person's point of view. How can I respond in love? That is what raises holy sparks, and that is what will get us out of our primitive nature to be perceived by folks 1,000 years from now. The next thing that I want to talk about, again, is something that I hope that you can all relate to, is difficult people. Sometimes love disguises itself as difficult people. Does everybody have a difficult person in their life, either in the private arena or in the public specter? Specter, is that a word? Sphere? Oh, I was going to say sphincter, but that doesn't work. So or maybe it does. I don't know. But anyway, and it's, by the way, I am a former nurse, and there's not just one sphincter. There are lots of sphincters. So just get your minds out of the gutter, right? Am I correct? There's lots of sphincters? Yes. Okay. She's a doctor. She should know. Okay, like the pyloric sphincter, it's right around here somewhere, right? I don't know, okay. All right. Anyway, where was I? Okay. Yeah, difficult people, thank you. In your what? Oh, okay, I won't repeat that, but thank you for that. Those difficult people are a sphincter, okay. All right. Okay, we're going south here in many ways. All right, think about the difficult people in your life, and isn't there part of you that just wishes that, like that eclipse story, like a big disembodied head like the Wizard of Oz would come and swallow them up, right? And eat them up and spit them out as something else? Wouldn't that be awesome? Just spend a moment visualizing that. Well, conversations like this remind me of this children's book that we give to the babies that we bless in this center, and it's called Little Soul. And Little Soul is an angel. It's a book that's written by Neil Donald Walsh, and he's an angel, and he's bopping around in heaven with all of his angel friends. He's a childlike angel, and he decides that he wants to go to Earth, and he says, you know what? My mission when I go to Earth is I'm going to learn all about forgiveness. And all the angels applaud and say, oh my gosh, that is so holy, that is so wise, that is so wonderful. How wonderful that you're going to Earth to learn all about forgiveness. Until his best friend taps him on the shoulder and says, little soul, there's a flaw in your logic there. If you go to Earth to learn about forgiveness, you're going to need somebody to treat you badly, so you have someone to forgive. So I'm willing to make the sacrifice. I love you so much that I'm going to follow you to Earth, and I'm going to treat you really badly, and you're going to work on forgiveness so hard with me. And all I ask is that from time to time you remember who I really am. Yeah, good luck with that. No. It does make sense to me. It makes more sense to me after speaking with one of my friends, Mark, who's my prayer partner, and he gave me permission to share this story, but in their church, like our church, they sometimes have people that go down to Brazil to see John of God, who is a spiritual healer, teacher, and when you go to Brazil to see John of God, there's lots of meditating, many hours of meditating. Several of you have been here. Lita has been there, and others too. And so you go and you see John of God and you meditate. And there was this woman from his church that went, and she was getting ready to sit in a 4-hour meditation. And she was like, 4-hour meditation, how can I do this? But she did it, and she said she felt like she was transported to another realm. And there was her father. And her father was laughing and trying to hug her and tell tell her how much he loved her. And she'd had a terrible relationship with her father. And her father said to her in this vision that she was having, "Oh, sweetheart, I had to work so hard to be mean to you. You're just such a bundle of love. But my job was to be mean to you so that you could learn some lessons that you needed to learn. You needed to learn about forgiveness. You needed to learn about grace." And he appeared to her in this vision. And it goes with what I just said about Little Soul. Maybe the people that are treating us badly, maybe the people that are showing up as obnoctoids from hell, as I used to say, maybe they are there to help us learn something, whether it's forgiveness. It could be they're there to help us learn really good boundaries. They could be there to help us learn that there is something whole and perfect and complete in us that can never be violated, something that people can never take away from us. But the difficult people in our life are love disguising itself as something less than love. Love pretending to be something less than love. What do you do with that information? Same thing. You ask yourself, what is the most loving course of action that I can take in this? How can I be in love with this? Which doesn't mean you have to like it. It just means that you respond in a loving way. And like I said, I want to reiterate, it does not mean being a doormat. It often means having really good boundaries or loving yourself wholly, perfectly, and completely. Which brings me to the last point that I want to make, where it seems like love sometimes is masquerading as something less than love. Love sometimes masquerades as something less than love in ourselves. Sometimes there are parts of ourselves that we just can't stand, that we just wish we could get rid of. Parts of ourselves that we wish, if only I could just eliminate that, then my life would work. It's either a thought or an emotion or an experience, or we feel guilt or we feel shame about something. That is love masquerading, hiding itself in something that is less than love. I read something about this in this book, our featured book, I hope I screw this up, by Kyle Cease, and he makes an analogy to ice and water, and I'm going to read it to you. He's talking about ourselves, our inner beings, and he says, "We are like fragile ice cubes that are melting into a glass of warm water. We feel separate and small, and like we have to keep it all together or we'll lose everything. We feel like we are getting smaller and smaller. And if we don't do something quick, if we don't fight it, if we don't run, we will cease to exist. What if the truth is that we are more like the warm water than the ice cube? What if you could be a space for your fear to dissolve into? What if you were a giant glass of warm water that could love and connect with the fear inside of you? The ice will eventually melt into the water. But if you thought your identity was ice, you would try as hard as you possibly could to stay frozen because you think that melting meant death. What ice might not understand is if it would surrender to this warm water, it would melt, but it would still exist. Not only would it still exist, it would join together with even more of itself and access an entirely new level of possibility. When you are scared of something, you are like the ice cube. You believe that you have something to protect, and you are trying to sustain an old identity. At any moment, you can let go and fall into the love that you are. How about that? Just think to yourself, am I an ice cube in any area of my life? Am I an ice cube trying to hold on to some old structure because I think if I let it go, I'll dissolve? And then think, wow, what if when I dissolve, I really become more of who I actually am? What if my dissolution of all of my self-shaming and self-hatred and self-blaming and guilt and fear, what if my willingness to just dissolve that and trust, what if that allows me to be that being that I always have been, always, that place that is connected with absolute reality, that place that is the one I am, that is love, that sometimes disguises itself as love, as less than love, but it is still love. Let us love together now. Let us pray. I turn within and just surrender to this beautiful, beautiful energy in this space. This energy of open hearts and open minds and open beings, all of us showing up in our perfection and our imperfection and recognizing that it is all part of something great, something greater, something beyond what mere words can capture. But we feel it. We feel it in our expansive souls. We feel it in our hearts. We feel it in our beings. From this place, I know that there truly is one absolute reality that is all good. And that absolute reality is the reality of this entity that we call love, or that for this prayer I will call it love. We are one with that power of love. We are one with that presence of love. We are one with the action of love. And so we unify with that. We call it our own, and we come home to it because it is truly who we are. And so recognizing that love is all there is, knowing that we are one with love, from this place we speak and see and hear and know the truth about our lives. Our lives are love becoming love, always. And anyone or anything or any part of ourselves that shows up as seeming like it's less than love is simply love wearing a distressing disguise so that we may have the joy of raising holy sparks and seeing it and believing in it and bringing it forth into greater lightness, into greater beingness, into greater spirit. We take a moment just to savor how spirit might be nudging us, how love might be nudging us to do that in a greater and deeper and possibly even smaller way. Because focusing on the small gets things done. How is Spirit calling us to reveal love today? And we know that if we are called, we are already chosen. And so this is yours to be, this is yours to be, this is ours to be, this is ours to know. And together we trust that many, many beings of light revealing love and revealing wholeness and knowing the truth of existence, that this raises the entire energy of the planet, of all of us. Our spiritual work together here in this blessed community blesses all beings everywhere. And so I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to be part of love and to be part of the solution. I'm so grateful to come to a place like this with people that are also willing to be part of the solution, willing to know that it's beyond fixing. It's not setting it right. It's seeing it right. It's trusting that it's right. I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for the unfolding of goodness that I see all around me everywhere. I'm so grateful for the unfolding of goodness that we see in ourselves, for the upliftment and divine empowerment of love in many, many ways. I am grateful for this teaching, grateful for this center, grateful for everybody here today, grateful for everyone who is not here, grateful for the challenging people in our lives, grateful for everyone. I bless all paths to God, churches, synagogues, temples, mosques, ashrams. I bless fundamentalists and atheists for all our blessing in one way or another. And with a heart that is filled with gratitude, I bless love, pretending that it's something less than love. I'm so grateful to reveal that and to know it and to trust it as I release these words into the divine mystery where together we say, and so it is. I am so blessed.
There is nothing more powerful than the human soul on fire. Nothing else will propel you like your heart's deepest desire. I put it there for a reason. I consider it an act of treason to push it to the side, to live and not have tried, 'cause I know you're unlimited. You have got the power and means to live life uninhibited. You came to realize your dreams. Have you listened to how you talk to yourself in the mirror? Better to close your eyes and go inside to see things clearer. I promise you a pure perfection. How about focusing on that reflection? The way is very clear. Release yourself from fear, 'cause I know you're unlimited. You have got the power and means to live life uninhibited. You came to realize your dreams. This is your life. Go on, go out and live it. Change it up, get sexy with it. There is love and excitement upon the breeze. There are magical moments for you to seize. Just remember I love you and nothing's impossible. Change your beliefs and I swear you're unstoppable. You have got the power and means to live life uninhibited. You came to realize your dreams. Believe me, you're unlimited. Your passions are unlimited.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And please join us through those doors for refreshments. Margaret, you've got CDs and you're working on 3 new ones. And so stop by and see Margaret. She's got good information for you. It's great to see you again. So let's do our affirmations and then we'll sing our new song, May Peace Prevail on Earth. Here we go. I am held in Spirit's holiness. Divinely guided by wisdom, courage, and love. I am always connected. I see joy in everything. I create joy on earth as I share my blessings. Thank you for my life. So it is.